Today's Sunday, and this is where we acknowledge the deep-rooted causes so we can work on them Monday through Saturday. And today I want to talk about shame. I want to talk about the shame you've been carrying right from your past. What shame are you carrying? I know me personally, I was carrying a lot of shame, right? Because I dealt with drugs, alcohol, criminal activity, all that kind of shit. I used to run the streets hard. And that shit still haunts me to this day, but it's a lot better than where I was before. You know, I'm talking about that thing that you constantly replay, right? That thing that you wish you could undo, that thing that you feel that disqualifies you for becoming who you were truly meant to be, right? Because personally, again, I had a lot of these issues, right? These decisions, and the person who I was, I didn't care for. I didn't like it, right? Because I kept making decisions and I was living from a person of pain, fear, and survival, right? And then even after I started growing, even after I started feeling that I healed a lot and had changed some, the shame still stayed, right? And it does still pop up from time to time, but it's not something that I live in anymore. See, that's the thing with shame. It doesn't care. It don't care who you become. It only cares about who you were. You know, I've sat many a nights alone replaying everything that I wish I could change. Every person I hurt, every opportunity I wasted, every action I did out of fear instead of truth. And then one time I remember breaking down and I said, man, I don't deserve a future. And it wasn't because I didn't want one, it was because the shame had convinced me, right, that my past had already written the ending. But then something shifted. Not outside, but inside. Something popped up in me, it rose up in me, something I had heard 1,000 times, but never really truly paid attention to. It was Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18 through 19. It said, forget the things and do not dwell in the past. See, I am doing a new thing. A new thing. Not a repaired thing, not a recycled thing, not a I'm gonna try this again for the 15th time thing. A new thing. And that's when it hit me. That I wasn't supposed to forget my past because they wanted me to pretend that it didn't happen. I was being asked to stop living in the past. Because shame is not about what you did. Shame is about where you're living, right? Because some of you are still living in the same moment that ended years ago, right? You're living in moments that no longer exist, right? We're living in mistakes that weren't meant to be the whole of the book. It was only meant to be one small chapter. And see, that's the thing that the enemy knows about your soul that you don't. He knows if he can keep you from being ashamed of who you were, then it can keep you from being who you were meant to be. But hear me when I tell you this. You are not your mistakes. You are not your lowest moment. You are not the worst thing you've done. And you sure as shit ain't the person that's been hurting. Psalms 103:12 says, as far from east is from west, so far he has removed our transgressions from us. Now, do you know how far east is from west? Infinitely, right? So let it go. It doesn't mean hold on to it, right? Because shame is not a spiritual reality. It's a psychological echo. It's the mind replaying what the spirit has already released. So today, this Sunday, this moment is not about pretending that the past didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it define you. You don't need to earn forgiveness. You don't need to prove to nobody that you changed. You don't need to continue to punish yourself and to feel worthy again. You just need to step out of the story of shame. Because the shame keeps dragging you back into who you were and not who you were meant to be. Because you weren't meant to be perfect. You were meant to be new. And new begins the moment you stop letting the past speak louder than your future. Because you deserve a future. Not because you're flawless, not because you're chosen, but because you're growing. And because you're becoming, right? And if you're willing to face the parts of yourself that most people run from, the past will remain in the past as a chapter, not a sentence. So today, turn the page. Today, I choose power. Today, I choose purpose. Today, I take one small step towards the life I was meant to live. Follow, like, and subscribe for more Bible and spiritual deep dives.